Speaking moistly, keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Speaking Moistly. With me, as usual, on a Tuesday, especially after an election, is Greg. Greg, how's it going, buddy? Holy smoke, eh?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, all things considered. Could be worse.
Have you picked out your bed in the gulag yet? Not yet.
Yeah, I'm hopefully gonna get a bottom bunk.
Right. You don't want to be by the bathroom.
Don't want to be by the bathroom. Definitely not. Yeah. I do. I can see the window from my bed, which is cool.
That's perfect.
Window.
It's just very, very small, but it's there. You can see
it's there. It's there. Sometimes I can see the birds. Usually not, though.
It is. We laugh, but. So the Liberals, basically, what happened last night, just in case you're watching and you're looking for the seat counts or something like that, the Liberals got basically the same amount of seats they got last time. The Conservatives lost a few seats. The Greens got the same amount. The NDP got a few more. And the Bloc was the breakout winner with 35 seats, which I think there's 34 seats, which is 2 more than they had last time, I think, roughly. So it's basically exactly the same House of Commons that we had before the election, right?
It was a big waste of time and money, basically.
But it stopped the parliamentary committee demanding those documents that Justin Trudeau really didn't want to have released, right? Spent a lot of money, wasted a lot of money, wasted a lot of taxpayer dollars, destroyed the China-Canada Commission, Parliamentary Committee, excuse me. So, it was a very impactful election. Not for the Canadian people, but for the procedural stuff that Justin Trudeau wanted to go away. Yeah, that was very impactful for that.
Yeah, and it was also really great pro-segregation campaign. Made the segregation thing really hot topic.
Make segregation great again.
Let's treat these people like rats.
Anti-vaxxers.
For everyone. We need
anti-vaxxers to the back of the bus, right?
For everyone, yeah. We need to segregate society for everyone, treat these people like second-class citizens for everyone. Very cool, Justin. But yeah, I mean, on the plus side, I just recognize that there's a lot of people who have joined the fray in terms of being engaged in Canadian politics. And I really don't think you can really turn somebody off once they've been turned on in a certain way, kind of like jacking out of the Matrix in a sense.
Yeah.
It's
well, once
you can try to do the cipher thing where you're like, I want to eat steak and I want to be, something important, like an actor, that whole scene from the Matrix. Like
I just want to own Google.
There are some people who jack back into the Matrix, but most of the time, if you've jacked out of the Matrix, you're kind of out for good. And I guess I'm looking on the plus side, like there is significant growth in PPC numbers, which is the right-wing populist movement. I don't even know if it's, there is positive revelations out of this, I think. And yeah, 800,000 people, like that's not an insignificant number that are opposing vaccine passports and all that. So,
well, see, the thing is, you're saying you can't get out of the Matrix when you're unjacked. So, but they don't want you in the Matrix if you're unjacked. They're like, listen, guy, you're saying a lot of things, and Mr. Anderson, we'd really rather you like go home and forget about all of this.
No, they don't want you alive.
No, but they like if you're alive and you're outside of the Matrix, they don't care. Like they'll have their creepy bot things and they'll get you. But like if you're alive and you're in the Matrix, then they can kill you, right? So they want to get you in the Matrix, but they don't want you there because you might wake up some of the normies who are just fine with how the Matrix is, right? Like,
right. Okay.
If you're in the Matrix, they're gonna get you. But like you could also like talk to the architect or whatever. Well, you could have an impact on their little world, right? Which is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the awake Neos and stuff, and Morpheuses and whatever running around saying they're enslaving you, right? It's like the meme with the cow, and he's got a slaughterhouse, and he's got like he's standing in not an orchard, but like a field with a bunch of other cows who are just kind of going about cow business. And he's standing on like a soapbox, and he's got like, meat cuts, like a page that says like, these are the cuts of meat from a cow. He's like, look at this. And he's like, and up on the hill, in the background, you see the processing plant for the cows, right? And we feel like that. We're like, look, they're just up there. They're processing you. Look. And the cows are like, no, I don't think so. Like, oh, he's going
Yeah.
off again. Those crazy guys are crazy. And it's like, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of sleepy Canadians out there, and it's just kind of that point has been re-emphasized. And I think the takeaway is the same, similar to 2019, which was PPC people. You guys, we live in a bubble online,
I
and
think that.
pardon?
Well, they try and project that, but I don't think that that's the truth. Like if you look at Chelsea Hillier, I keep bringing her up, but like her crowds were some of the biggest I'd seen in Ontario, right?
Yep.
But the same, and that probably has to do with her dad and connections and stuff. But she got people out. There were massive rallies out in Alberta. There were massive rallies out in all other places. So they try and say that we're just this crazy, we're in this echo chamber and people aren't listening and stuff. People are listening. I think that, did you watch the 2020 presidential election? Like, yeah, right. So Biden won that election just in the same way Trudeau mirrored exactly what happened in 2019, right? Like,
yeah,
in my opinion, right? Like,
I guess my point is like, because there's a lot of people who, oh, look at these polls online, the PPC is doing really well, or like, oh, look at these like search numbers online, the PPC is doing really well. And like the antithesis to that is the fact that I would love to know the stats on this officially, but I would be willing to wager that 1 million Canadians do not even have the internet. Okay. I think consider that. Like it's probably at least 500,000. It could be 1 million. And I'm talking people who are old school, they're a little bit older. They have never bothered to get home internet. They still get everything from TV and CBC and CTV. This is their only feed of, and I know you're watching Speaking Moistly right now on the internet. So it's like, this is otherworldly to you, but that's something that needs to be considered. And I guess like the takeaway is the importance of ground game in a campaign, the importance of things like Chelsea Hillier was doing, or is it Hillier or Hillier? Have we decided yet?
I don't know. We could just go with one. Just choose it. You make it up.
I think it's Hillier. But yeah, I mean, I think Hillier had a fantastic campaign on the ground campaign. And I think that especially like, God forbid Bill C-36 passes, but it's like, it's actually going to get to the point where it's like, I'm using my printer to print out information to hand out to people so they know the truth. Like I can no longer share a tweet anymore. I can no longer share a Facebook post anymore. I need to literally use a fucking printer and hand it out like we're in CCP occupied country. Like
it's the 1980s or something like that.
I've only read about this stuff. So
yeah, no, it's wild, man. Like I had people saying on one of my shows, like in response to what I was talking about, like basically get offline and start practicing your dead drops. Like, put it under a park bench and, go back there the next day to, pick up the response from your friend. I'm like, at first I need a friend, like first I need somebody who's going to put something under the park bench, man.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, I don't think that's crazy at all. And I think that I've actually been doing something that reminds me a lot of that energy, which is there's a lot of artists and comedians in Toronto. And even since the lockdown, they've been doing these interesting things. Like there was this comedian named Ben Bankus, who's this funny guy. He rips on Teresa Tam like no other. And he's developed like a really good, I would almost even say special, like a good, like 30 minutes of material. Yeah. Talking about the lockdown, talking about Teresa Tam. And it's very like normie friendly stuff as well. And, but along with that, there's the kind of rift between the woke comedians and like the deplorables is kind of growing in a sense from what I can tell. I'm still kind of learning the culture and like learning the different like venues and stuff. Yeah. But along with that, point is, a couple days ago, I saw a comedy show. There was 8 different comedians. There was probably about 20, no, maybe 18 audience members, 15 to 18 audience members, which is not bad, significant. But consider this. This was in somebody's home. This was in their
Wow.
townhouse
Yeah.
with like a bunch of like, you know, kitchen chairs and lawn chairs all like lined up. Someone just with like a little mic and like a little
A little PA.
speaker. And like, it was like a really good show. And it was literally in some comedian's house. And that's not the only one like that. Like there's
Yeah.
multiple ones that are doing that. And it's, yeah, I mean, it was comedy. It worked. Like it totally worked.
Well,
Was Go ahead.
the underground kind of haircuts,
Yeah.
right? Like
Uh-huh.
speakeasies. Are we back to 2020, like 1920, 2020 speakeasies, right?
Well, hey, I know business owners, and I don't know if we've talked about this before, but they've told me even during lockdown, she's like, this is fine actually, because I'm just going to do some speakeasy stuff and get like a lot of like money on the side, to be honest. And it's like, I'll just be
That's the
smart about
government.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's, we may have talked about this before, but like with all the COVID regulations, it's weird how it almost normalizes technically criminal behavior, you know?
The last year, the United Kingdom government in 2020, they were going to have a lockdown over Christmas, and people were like, "F, not happening." Right?
Flipping out. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost it. And Boris Johnson backed down because he said, once you've broken the law, then you break a law again. Like it's not this taboo thing. Like once you've already broken the law,
Right.
like if the government makes it so that you're living life and you living life is breaking the law, then you're not going to care about it anymore. Like it's just going to be something that people do, right? Like speeding, right? Like think about that,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
my son's like, "Daddy, it's 50 on this road," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Like, so people will just be like, "Yeah, well, you know, it's not really a law," or something like that. And some people will get cracked down on, but it is a very interesting situation when the government plays with that kind of expectation. It's a betrayal because the society is a society because we all agreed to play by the same rules. And now they're saying, well, some people in society have different rules. 4 legs good, 2 legs better. You know, right?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah,
sure.
it's a very
and there's definitely different tiers of that. There's different layers of that as well.
If you're a celebrity, you can hang out.
Yeah,
like if you're
absolutely.
a politician,
Yeah.
celebrity,
Yeah.
no
If you're
masks.
a politician, if you're a celebrity, if you're like, you know, some sort of higher up, like you're at a certain level, if you're an essential worker,
that's why I don't wear a mask.
And then when you get down to the slave class, it's like, are you vaccinated? Are you compliant good boy? Or are you a bad boy? And yeah, I mean, it's nice to have conversations like this because it's just like there's just so many layers of insanity and weirdness that no one talks about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the internal kind of like how am I going to solve this problem, right? Like walking into, so tomorrow we're going into a nightmare situation in Ontario, right? So the vaccine passport has come in Quebec, the vaccine passports come in Australia tomorrow, Ontario's turn, right? So so what do? You start calling restaurateurs and saying, listen, I'd love a private table in your closed restaurant after hours paid by cash? You know, like, is that how you get around this, or is that going to be viable? If that's what you do, and somebody gets sick or something like that, they're going to crack down on that. You know what I mean? Like, and there's going to be all sorts of, what we've done is we've destroyed our society, and we think that somehow we haven't done that. But how do we get back to the normal world that we used to live in? Because I don't know that there's a pathway back to that from where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would correct what you said a little bit. I would say we are in the process of destroying the society that we've lived in. Like this is
what I mean is, like, we can't get, like, there's very little there's very little way to get back to normal. Like there's not a lot of things that we do day to day now that are normal, that we would say are normal in 2018. You know, like, right? People used to go out, people used to go to the office, people used to not think about putting suffocating devices on their faces, people used to unwind on the weekends and go party with their friends, people used to have board game nights and fly down south to Jamaica and Mexico, right? Like nobody's doing any of those things now. Like people are spending their money on their houses and groceries.
And you know the crazy irony of it? everyone is desperate to go back to normal, and they think that desperately normalizing these abnormal behaviors will help them go back to normal. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
they're like, oh,
Well,
well, we need to do this now to go back to normal. It's like, really? We need to normalize lockdowns and normalize vaccine passports to go back to normal? It's like, do you not see
well,
how
if the vaccine doesn't work, I don't.
you're agreeing with the new normal by doing these new behaviors? But to answer your question, there's this image that you can download. I don't know if you can read that,
No, what is
but
it?
it's just an image that says, not a vaccine card. I'm not vaccinated, but I wish to support your business and tip your workers. If that works for you, simply say thank you and let's do business. If not,
Can
politely ask us to leave.
you send me that link? Is that just like a website?
It's literally an image. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Love it. I love it. Send it to me.
It's a very
I'm gonna make it the
sophisticated, it's
background
a
of my
very
phone.
sophisticated JPEG that you can load on your
I
smartphone.
hope that it beeps at vaccine passport
Beep, boop,
things,
boop, beep, beep, beep,
kiosks,
beep,
like beep, beep, beep. Have you seen the videos? I almost don't want to talk about this because I'm going to put it on YouTube and they're going to remove it from YouTube. I've seen
Yep.
videos of people, and it was probably a guy. So there was a subdermal tag, and he was beeping it with his,
Subdermal tag?
like
What?
under your skin. Your dermis is
Uh,
showing, right?
okay.
Like they tag pets, right?
Okay.
Or your epidermis is showing, I guess is what Nelson
Epidermis,
said.
yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, subdermal. Thank you for that. Subdermal tagging is done for like pets, and like you can like scan it with a Bluetooth reader if you've got the right Bluetooth scanny thing on your phone. So people were scanning something on somebody's arm, and it came up with a number, and they were saying that it was because of the vaccine. And they were like, I've seen other people scanning people's arms with QR readers and it
Yeah.
beeps. And then nothing happens. This one had like a returned a number. And I was like, well, that's weird. Like, how'd they do that? Did they just get like a pet tag and like maybe somebody put it under his armpit or something like that? But I don't know if that would work. I don't know. There's all sorts of crazy, like you could do anything with the internet, right? Like with the internet, with like the video manipulation things we have now, like you could do anything in post-production. I'm in a green screen, right? Like somebody could reimagine this and I'm like on some desert island somewhere, right? Like they could be like, what's Mark doing sitting on a desert island? And I'd be like, man, no, that does look like me on a desert island, like
Yeah.
so the things that you can do, it's totally, I mean, we all watched, I think I was talking about this the other day, we all watched like Star Wars and Apollo 13 and Forrest Gump, right? I remember watching Forrest Gump with Forrest Gump was standing there with Nixon because of the Vietnam thing that he was a Forrest Gump in the story was a Vietnam War veteran, and he got a Medal of Courage from Nixon, which none of it happened, right? But they spliced Forrest Gump into the actual footage of Nixon and giving actual people medals of honor and stuff. Forrest Gump's a crazy story, and it's like ridiculous. I heard did you see? Sorry, my brain is going off on all.
I was going to say, are you asking me if I've seen Forrest Gump before?
No, there was a documentary about Forrest Gump talking about how when they were making this movie, they were like, first of all, Tom Hanks can't talk like that. He sounds like an idiot. What are you doing? Like, you can't have the whole movie like this. And then second of all, this is not believable at all. Like this idiot, this Southern idiot is all of a sudden like a ping pong champion and a billionaire shrimper and a Vietnam War veteran. Like, no, sorry, like not believable. And then all of a sudden it's this huge thing. And people, but my point in all of that is we watched Apollo 13. It could be photoreal. Like if I told my kid, this is real footage of a real moon mission, right? Like that Tom Hanks guy is one heck of an astronaut. Like they believe me. A kid would believe me because they'd have no reason not to believe me, right? And so like, what if they're using that kind of psychology on everyone? And what if they're using that kind of razzle dazzle, right? Like
absolutely, dude, absolutely.
Right? Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel.
Absolutely. Dude, I remember at the beginning of all this lockdown stuff, and my friend was like, yo, this is exactly like the movie Contagion. This is exactly like the movie Contagion. This is and everyone's treating it like Contagion. Everyone's treating cases. Oh my God. Like everyone's dying. And it's like, no, literally, that's not true. Like literally not everyone is dying.
Right.
But every single day, these news reports, we see the numbers spike in cases, and it's like this dystopian movie when you watch TV, and there's a disconnect between what all that actually means, and it's almost like what they're working with is the tone of voice and the
Mhm.
graphs and the
Yeah.
sinister implication of things. And
It's like Twister. It's like Twister. So like in Twister, the movie Twister, the bad guy is the wind. The bad guy is the tornado, right?
right.
So
Yeah.
like all of a sudden, all they have to do to invoke the bad guy is all of a sudden the wind chimes start going. You're like, oh, the bad guy's near, right? They're
Yeah.
driving down the road,
Yeah.
and like, we got cows. So it's the same thing. Like the bad guy is nature, right? And they're like, oh, do you hear that? The wind is blowing. I hear, oh, the bad guy's here, right? So
Yeah.
and the reality of it is like, oh, what happened with all those cases? Like, what happened with all? Can we compare that to the flu? Like,
Hmm.
did it eclipse cancer deaths and heart disease deaths? No.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely. I mean, there's so much to talk about on this topic.
Mm.
There's in this gets directly into like conspiracy facts. I think some of them are confirmed, but essentially the
Australia happened.
no, the connection. I'm talking about more entertainment industry and how it's connected to like
Oh,
governmental agencies, how the
Britney
CIA is
Spears.
involved in Hollywood
Yeah.
and all this stuff. I don't know to the extent of the specifics of that, but I mean, yeah, certainly, you know, especially with climate change, I think that's like a really big one, because when I think of climate change, I think of this high quality clip of walruses falling off of a cliff. Have you seen this before?
Yeah,
Like it's just
the
like
Attenborough thing. Yeah, I've seen
yeah, I don't even know the context
that.
really. Like it's just I remember seeing this like gratuitous like walruses like jumping off a cliff to kill themselves, and it's like all this fear porn, like all of this
Walruses
like
think like
fear
that.
porn with the music and the strings pulling and all this, and it's worked so well.
Beautifully, beautiful, unbelievably well.
Some people,
Just
it's like, oh, don't you care about climate change and the walruses? Like people will literally say that to you. Don't you care about climate
yeah.
change?
And the polar
Didn't
bears.
you see the
And the
walruses
polar bears.
video?
The
And it's
rhetoric. Yes, right.
I was just going to say, it's so clear what's happened, which is Al Gore tried the same thing in 2008. No, earlier than that.
And then 10 years later,
An inconvenient truth, global warming.
Yes,
Guess
he
what,
did.
bro? Your propaganda was flaccid. It sucked. It wasn't scary enough, bro.
Yes.
But now
People
in
have
the
to die now.
2010s, in the 2010s, climate change, bitch, like walruses are killing themselves. Like the propaganda, the production quality is at that level now that it works. And I always tell people this: if you want to understand the world we live in, you have to consider the capacity for propaganda to produce it effectively, to target it effectively, and to measure it.
Yeah. Well,
Like now we know how well it works. You know how terrifying that
is?
is?
It works great. It's
They
unbelievable.
know it's like they have the levers to like, okay, let's amp up climate change fear. Let's amp up the racism and the, what do you call it? Reconciliation.
Yeah.
Let's turn COVID down a bit this week.
Yeah.
And
the anthropomorphization of inanimate things and other things, like the making
word,
human.
bro.
Yeah, I know. Anthropomorphization just means like you make them human. Like, so like if you're watching an animal documentary, you're not watching like a rabbit run away from or a hare run away from a wolf. You are the hare, right? And hopefully, right? If it gets away, right? So you, or
this is like a narrative technique.
Yes, it's a narrative technique.
Okay.
Kind of like, no, it's what you do. It's how people see the world. It's the reason Thomas the Tank Engine is Thomas the Tank Engine, because you sit there and you see a face, even though it's just a train, like it's an inanimate object.
Yeah.
But if you're watching a movie or something like that, and the main character in this little segment is a rabbit running away from a fox, either you're the rabbit or you're the fox. Like you put yourself in one of them, right? And so it's hijacked, it's used to, like you said, the walrus is killing itself jumping off the cliff. There's probably other reasons for the walrus. The walrus isn't like, oh man, my tusks are the worst, like I can't believe this, right? I gotta go. No, he's not doing that. He's a walrus, so he's doing walrus things. I couldn't even fathom what the walrus is hanging out doing. But they use lemmings too, right? To make a similar environmental claim, like throwing the lemmings off, and then people believe that lemmings jump off cliffs or something like that.
Lemmings?
Which isn't actually true. But they did the same. They did the same with the polar bears, saying that the polar bears were dying, as they did with the walruses. The lemmings is a different story entirely.
Well, yeah, and I think the point is that it's these narratives that we now take for granted, that are now so ingrained into our psyches. You know, it's a lot like the way that a Star Wars narrative is ingrained into our psyche,
Mm.
and which is, you know, we might ask the question, where did where did Han Solo really come from? How did Han Solo meet Chewbacca?
Yeah.
You know, where did the millennium, like the second you start to ask questions, it's like, dude, I don't know. Like, it's the story.
Doesn't
Just
matter.
listen to
Yeah.
me, you idiot. You
Yep.
know, and it's the same thing with climate change, where it's like, well, what do the walruses really have to do with the carbon tax? Like, how
Yeah.
is the carbon tax going to solve this? It's like, dude, didn't you see the walruses? Like, stop asking questions, man.
That's what I was going to say.
The walruses are literally dying, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for
Like,
circling back to this. The thing that kind of strikes me as you describe this, the way that people talk about climate change, the straw man, because you're describing a straw man argument, right? Like climate change is X, and they're like, what about the walruses? And you're like, yeah, well, I don't give a shit about the walruses. But they're doing straw man arguments. And so like, it's the same thing if you argue online about, I mean, anything, right? But like if you argue online about the masking or COVID, anything, all of a sudden it's straw man argument after straw. You don't care about those people who are highly impacted by this, or people with immunocompromised systems or whatever. And all of a sudden it's like body agency for you means that you're a monster. Like, and they will attack you that way, right? And it's just a very interesting parallel, right? Like if you're like, yeah, well, I don't really believe in climate change, I'm going to go get my Ford F750, you know, and like turn on the microwave that's in the dash, right? Like, yeah, they're going to get mad at you, but like, it's the same rhetoric. They'll be like, oh, you're a monster, you're a terrible person, you're going to kill us all.
No, yeah, that's funny. It's I mean, these like Hollywood story narratives really do hold up, don't they? You know, it's like, who is the villain in these stories? Like, it's always interestingly, it's the guy with the truck. You know,
They've somehow a little bit.
They've obfuscated like big business somehow. They've obfuscated like these politicians who might have ill intentions. Like, if anything, they've almost taken Greta. They're like holding her by the scuff, putting her in front of the camera and being like, this is who we are. We're Greta. Okay. Yep. Greta doesn't do anything wrong, does she? I'm behind Greta. My name's Justin Trudeau. My name's President of New Zealand. My name's like,
Jacinta.
Whatever. Yep. And it's like, I am Greta. All right. That guy in the truck, he sucks.
Yep.
And it's like,
and it doesn't even matter what's true. And like, the funny thing is, health is wealth. Like, well, we'll wrap it up after this, but health is wealth. So like, if you have money, you can afford better food, and your body is more healthy because you have better food, and you can afford healthcare, being to take care of yourself, sanitation, all of that other stuff. So you can't sacrifice wealth chasing health, because health is wealth. And what we've done is decimate our economy, right? And what they're saying is, we're doing it for your safety. But the reality is, it is impacting us negatively. And anybody who speaks out against that is silenced in various ways. Check out my book. Came up organically.
Yes. No. So organic mention. That was organic, I swear. No, yeah, that's I mean, yeah, onto the health conversation. It's obviously even more sinister than the whole climate change narrative. And I think more immediate. And I think that the scariest thing, what I was kind of referring to earlier, is that people don't question it. Like, it's literally a fairy tale. Like, it's literally like a fairy tale. Like, we take it for granted, like a fairy tale. And then climate change came, and
it's more true.
Anytime that you fire up a truck, it's bad. And the thing is, this is literally what kids are being told.
Yeah. But hold on.
This is the same demographic that believes in Santa Claus, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Like, it's
even more insidious. Okay. So with climate change, they're like, you're going to kill all of us in 100 years, let's just say, which is bullshit, because it's always, they're just lying. with COVID, now they're trying to say just being unvaccinated, if you walk into somewhere, you're potentially murdering all of these people because you're spreading disease. It's worse than a smoking person who's smoking indoors. That's what they're trying to tie this to.
And they're literally saying science too.
Yeah, but it's the same rhetoric. It's exactly the same argument.
It's more intense.
And that blows me. It's more immediate. It's more direct. They're saying they are going to directly kill you. Not just this fictional, like they're collectively contributing to the death of us all, because that doesn't blame Greg or Mark, right? But if Greg or Mark are unvaxxed, now all of a sudden
it's about the individual shame, right?
Let's get that guy.
Shaming,
right?
Like a witch hunt, pretty well.
Yeah. But it's the made up problem, and then the expensive solution and the scapegoat, and like we're living it, man. And it's just incredible.
That's why we trust the science. Can you believe these people? It's like it's so otherworldly now.
Yeah. Do you like Trudeau got like 31% of the vote, and he says a overwhelming mandate to finish the fight against COVID-19? What does that mean, man? Like, what are you going to do with the unvaccinated, Justin? What's the final solution, man?
I made a TikTok video. I have on my channel. I should make it a playlist. Actually, I have 5 videos now called Trudeau tweets, and one of them is like, we need to finish the fight against COVID-19. Blah blah blah. And it's like, bro, animals can catch COVID-19, so a lot of experts in the science field say that this virus is not going away. So why are you misleading people and basically lying to people to say that it's going to go away? I don't know, because it's a good campaign slogan. But I mean, for anybody who's happy about what just happened, and I doubt that they listen to Speaking Moistly, but it's like, this guy, you reelected a guy that lied to you 6 months ago. He said that this country will never mandate vaccines, and now he's mandating vaccines. Okay. So what are you happy about exactly? Like, this person doesn't care, lying his face off to you. And he we found another photo of him wearing blackface. He spent $600 million on this election and changed nothing. Like, he's segregating society for everyone.
Didn't change nothing though. It covered his ass.
I mean, I think there's definitely a big psychological, there's definitely reasons for it, for sure.
Oh yeah, it was burying the parliamentary document.
A reset, a refresh. Hey, here we are, like the newly elected, still corrupt government.
Yeah, well, and they said that they were wanting a mandate because of the big changes and the big choices that were happening, and they didn't get a mandate. They just said they got a mandate. Like, they didn't get it. Like, that's not an overwhelming mandate, like
I really think that
the majority.
I really think that the next fight needs to be against censorship and Bill C-10 and C-36.
Did you miss the vaccine passports?
Well, I mean, that battle's already lost by the sounds of it. It's already lost. And the thing is if we lose freedom of speech in this country, that is the nail in the coffin.
We lost it. It's gone, man. It's gone.
But no, C-10 and C-36 isn't passed yet, bro.
Doesn't matter.
Because once that passes, we're in much bigger trouble, to the extent that they can look at your back catalog and send you like massive fines and put you on house arrest. Like, right now, I just can't go out for dinner. You know what I mean? Starting tomorrow in Ontario, pretty well. But it's like, there's a big difference between not going out for dinner and being on house arrest and getting fined for literally voicing my opinion on Facebook. Like, that's
well, they could do that. They could do that. They could do that for anybody, not just people with YouTube channels. I agree that they'll probably target people like me and you.
Oh yeah, we'll be the first. We'll be the first on the chopping block. Are you kidding me?
I hope not. I hope they.
Why would people like you and me not be the first on the chopping block? Like, don't be naive to think like, oh no, they're actually going to do it to stop hate. No, they're going to. I know that. Quash any people who are dissenting and any people who are charming and know how to use computers and know how to use microphones and cameras. Get these people out of here. They're vilifying and detesting us. And we're going to be first on the chopping block. It's like, I tell people, like, we know where this is headed. So why, like, we can't give them the benefit of the doubt. We need to communicate to others where it's headed and why it needs to be stopped now, and why no, they don't have any good intentions at all. Don't listen to their fake good intentions.
No, well, I don't think anybody's listening to their fake good intentions, but people who are outside of what? We don't have any infrastructure to meaningfully demand a recount of the election, and it wouldn't result in any change anyway. Like it is a very difficult thing to put our finger on directly what the problem is. And then if we did find a problem, you know what I'm saying? They'd change. They're shapeshifters. There was a thing called hypernormalization, and it's like a constantly moving, constantly changing target. And it's like a blitzkrieg attack on rights. Right. And so
Yep.
like, I understand what you're saying. I agree with you. I mean, why do you think I do my show? Because like, to tell people what's going on, because like, because what the news is saying is misrepresenting what's going on in a very real way. So, I put out my show to tell people, because there's nothing else to do. But like, yeah, I hear you. But we're in pretty dire straits even without all of that. You know, like that's just a means to an end. They want to bankrupt the country. They want to bankrupt everybody, not just me and you. They want to bankrupt everybody. So everybody's reliant on the state, right?
Sure.
So it's
I just think like I bring up the freedom of speech stuff because we need to organize and mobilize. And I think having a united front in some way needs to happen. You know what I mean? Like, it is getting to that dire spot. There are a lot of people who agree with us. And yeah, it's obviously not the majority of the country, because the majority of the country are jacked into the matrix and literally drooling all over themselves. But you know, there needs to be some sort of concerted effort in some direction, because our country is going to be gone if there's, you know, over the next 4 years, if there isn't like an ongoing sort of holding our MPs accountable, you know, like there needs to be, we need to find ways over the next months even to like really try to influence the conversation. I don't know what that looks like, but it's like, you know, it's kind of, it's go time to really kind of get our shit together and find out how to influence the House of Commons, even though we're not in it.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear the ideas. I'd love to hear some ideas. But anyway, dude, I got to go because I've got a meeting in like 10 minutes. So we'll wrap it up. Any final thoughts? What do you think?
Final thoughts. I said this last week, and I just want to reiterate, you know, you need to have faith that things are going to be okay despite the reality. And that sounds like, oh, you're sounding dumb. That's not analytical and realistic at all. No, it's not realistic. And but you need, like, being able to deal with the chaos and the depressing news. It really is a skill that I encourage you to work on. Look at your immediate reality in terms of things to be grateful for, relationships, even if it's just one friend, even if it's just one contact, you know, like really be grateful for that, and you know, take inventory, and you know, go for a walk, enjoy the fresh air. People like us have this conception that it's all going to just like come crumbling down all at once, and it's going to, and it's like, I really think it's going to be a slow decay. It's good because just look at the election we saw last night. You know, like there's so many people on board with the slow decay, right? So it's like they don't even have to be in a rush, really. They are going to be in a rush, but my point is like this kind of like doomsday scenario, I really don't think it's going to happen like that. I think it's going to be a slow decay. And looking at, it's hard to look at the long term right now, but like we need to really kind of look at planning stuff that is going to be effective, whether it's in our own personal life or whether it's making some sort of political effort.
Yeah. I appreciate you as a friend.
I appreciate you as well. It's great to be in touch with you.
Yeah, man, it's good.
Make sure you watch my new video. It's called If Public Health Canada Was Honest. It's on my YouTube channel. It's doing very well. It's at 6,000 views. Oh, by the way, I uploaded a bunch of clips to Twitter and to TikTok, and TikTok took one of them down.
Wow.
The clip all about early treatment.
Interesting.
What do you know? They took that one down.
Did Twitter take all of them down?
No, actually, no.
Interesting.
So Twitter, it's still up on Twitter, but it's definitely interesting to see what gets banned and what doesn't. I didn't even mention any names. I didn't mention any horse dewormer. I didn't mention.
That's been the funniest part of this. Okay, I gotta go because like the horse dewormer memes are super funny.
Yeah, healthy as a horse.
Oh my goodness, it's hilarious. Okay, we'll end the broadcast and then we'll go back to the green room. Okay, so thanks for watching, everybody. Check out all of my other stuff in various places, blah, CanadaPoly.com, CanadaReport.co, blah, 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 blah. Speaking moistly,
Keep
keep 2 meters apart, speaking moistly.